Drones are awesome. I mean, just one of the best things that's ever happened to cameras. I love shooting on it, but I've got all this footage that I don't know what to do with. I'm just like stockpiling it. Occasionally I'll use some in a YouTube video, or maybe I'll post an Instagram reel, but I've got way more cool stuff than I could possibly look at in some of my favorite memories from our trips. So I'm finally getting around to making a screensaver for a Mac using all my favorite drone footage. We're gonna be shooting a lot of this video on the Mavic 3 Classic. Now, I've done a video all about the Mavic 3. It's like the best consumer drone. It really is amazing, has all the bells and whistles. This is very close to that. It gives up the zoom lens, but saves you quite a bit of money. So you get all the image quality out of the Micro Four Thirds Hasselblad sensor, but at a vastly reduced price. So let's get right into it. First tip, I recommend putting all your drone footage on one drive. This is just like an older SSD I've got. All my drone stuff goes on here so that long term I can organize it together. I find my YouTube projects end up sprawled across a bunch of different archives, so having it all in one place really helps out. I'm going to be editing this in DaVinci Resolve because Resolve is free and amazing, so everybody can use it. This isn't going to be a video about how to edit. You can check out the rest of the channel for that, more just like how I'd organize this project. So I'm going to start off by opening up all these clips that we just shot in California. So these are all shot in log, which means I'm gonna be able to color grade them later. Now let's take a look at a timeline. You can see I've just got started with two here, one from previous Hawaii trip. And then here is California from the trip we just took, everything shot on the Mavic 3 Classic. First of all, every clip can be way longer than you think. Like you might be used to just a few seconds at a time. You can run it for like a minute, go as far as you can, have as much happen as possible. And I also find speeds can be quite a bit slower for this type of experience because you don't need any crazy action. In fact, that's something I like about this project is that I've got a bunch of clips here that I love. Like they have a personal connection to me. I think they're really beautiful, but they're not like crazy Instagram bangers. I mean, I see some people out there with their FPVs going down waterfalls, and that's not what I'm shooting. I'm like shooting pretty chill scenic things that I think are really nice, but I don't know if it's gonna, blow everyone's mind on its own. But for me, they work really well just like slowly watching them pan out, looking in at all the details. Actually, this shot has an amazing detail I found. Down here at the bottom of the screen, there are some huge animals in the water here. I also like to put shots side by side that are very different. So right now we're gonna go from the bridge to a different part of the coast, totally different angle. Everything is different about this. Has the same feeling, but it's more interesting to look at. Each timeline has a whole bunch of shots from one area, preferably shooting the same color profile. So a lot of these are log. I did shoot a few that are in full rec 709. So I'll just skim through this so you can see the rest of what's on here. This is all from that one trip. It's all California. And now I'll give you a quick preview. This is the Hawaii timeline. So I do like to separate them out, and you'll see why in a minute. If you don't actually program this as a screensaver, like you just want to watch this video, which is another great piece of advice I have, just save this video and watch it sometimes. But if it's not a screensaver, you could make it all one long video and just put it on. You'll see why we have separate videos in a second. So I can export this Hawaii project, H.264, doesn't really matter what it is for this case, call it Hawaii, disable the audio, make sure it's 4K, make another one, California screen. Same settings, export to the same place, now hit render. Next, we're going to download some software. It's called Save Hollywood. It doesn't seem like it's getting much update, so send them a little love. Hopefully they will, but it does still work. I'm using Ventura version 13.2.1. We're going to open up System Settings. Over on the left, we're going to scroll down and look for Screensaver. And at the bottom of those, you're going to find Save Hollywood. Now, I discovered there's only one tricky part in all of this. You do have to put the videos in the exact right folder, otherwise it doesn't work. To find it, use the Go menu, Go to folder. And this is kind of long. I recommend not trying to type it out. I'm going to put it in the description below so you can just copy, paste it into this Go menu, hit Enter. You're going to find yourself somewhere deep inside user preferences. Now I'm going to go to where I exported my screensavers, grab those two files, drag them to that preferences folder. I'm going to go back to my system settings. With Save Hollywood selected, I'll click Options. All I got to do is drag my two video files into there. You can have a whole bunch of them, and I recommend using play in random order. This is why I'm separating them into different files so that it'll play one after the other instead of just staying in one location. Kind of randomizes it, keeps it exciting. Then I'd also recommend using size to fit screen because fill seems to stretch it, and also mute because, I don't know, if you have audio, you don't need to hear it in a screensaver, and that's it. I mean, this is like the simplest tutorial I've ever done. Click OK. Oh, and you can see it's there in the preview. There's one more thing you're gonna have to check on. If you go to lock screen, you gotta make sure that you have start screensaver when inactive, and it's gotta be an amount of time that is less than turning off the display both with the battery and without. Set it to whatever time you want. I set it pretty low right now because I want to see these videos all the time. And now we wait. Or I can just click preview and see it right now. Now, if you're looking at the whole line of DJI drones, there's obviously some trade-offs whether you go with a smaller one or the slightly larger ones like this. Obviously, you're giving up some of the compact size. This is definitely bigger. The batteries are a little bit heavier, but the image quality is, I mean, as good as it gets. It's really amazing. And you also get things like a variable aperture. So if you don't have NDs with you, which I happen not to right now, you can stop down to something like f11 and still get a better shutter speed. With those larger batteries come greatly increased flight times. So the Mavic 3 Classic can fly up to 45 minutes. These larger drones also give you a lot more range. So the Mavic 3 Classic is rated up to 30 kilometers, which is a lot more than I'm ever going to test it for. What I appreciate the distance for is mostly that obstacles will also reduce that. So if there's trees or mountains nearby, it can give you less range, but you still have more than you would on some of the smaller options. One thing that's new for me is this auxiliary light on the bottom, so you can shine it on things underneath. That can help you land if the light's getting low, but even better, at sunset, you can create these really cool images where you're using it to light up your subject. And if it's a photo, you could erase the drone afterwards. You can also do amazing light painting that I have not dabbled with, but I want to someday. I absolutely love those images, and I guess now I could do it without even attaching a third-party light to it. In my last Mavic 3 video, I was complaining about how sometimes my phone overheats, so I'm flying and the screen goes dark, and it's really annoying when your drone's up in the air. So a lot of people recommended that I pick up the DJI RC, and that's what I've got flying with this one, and it is a huge improvement because, well, it doesn't overheat. It's got fans built in, it's meant to just keep going. There's a big heat sink on the back as well. This is really the best drone you can buy for the money. It's missing that zoom lens from the Mavic 3, but still has all the image quality in that larger sensor, which is 20 megapixels, by the way. So what I like to do is shoot raw photos and stack them as a vertical panorama that I later stitch in Photoshop, and I can get a huge megapixel vertical image, great for Instagram. DJI, please add vertical rotation to the cameras on your bigger drones. But if image quality is your thing, definitely check out the Mavic 3 Classic. And that's it. Very easy. Now I just need to edit every drone video from everywhere I've ever traveled. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. And again, I would love to know, how do I do this on my big screen TV? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.